I want you guys to think about your morning routine. You have to put on your backpack, and as soon as you put it on, you already feel something like an immense weight on your shoulders, both figuratively and literally. Your shoulders start hurting, your back hurts, and you haven't even made it to your first period. And you guys have probably never really thought about where most of that weight comes from, or I'm sure you know your laptop, your textbooks, anything like that. I know that struggle, you know that struggle. We all have to carry around these big textbooks, and we have to pay for them on top of that. You forget about one, and all of a sudden your day is ruined because in that one class you might have needed it. Maybe you had an assignment, maybe you had to study, and it's something that each of us struggle with. We've both used paper textbooks and digital ones for a very long time, so I'm sure everyone knows the difference. And schools all across the country are switching to digital textbooks simply because they work better. You don't have to worry about forgetting one because as long as you remember your computer, you're able to take it with you. And on top of that, paper textbooks cost too much. They're heavy and they get outdated fast. You gotta switch from one to maybe another one because some information was updated. We believe that switching to digital textbooks would make learning cheaper, lighter, and easier for everybody. And today, I'll explain what we think the problem is, what the solution is, and what can happen, the benefits, if we actually implement this change. So to start, let's start with moving on to our main point, aka the problem. Most people's backpacks can weigh anywhere from around 15 to 20 pounds, and all that weight, or most of that weight, is carried in textbooks. Depending on the amount of courses or classes that you're taking in a semester, each and every single one of those classes most likely has a textbook that you're required to carry around or take with you. And carrying that weight every single day for hours on end or for multiple times a day can have a long term effect, as anything will. Maybe it'll be on your back, your shoulders, anything of the sort. Then there comes the cost. Families or students have to spend hundreds of dollars on these textbooks that they might not use the next semester or the next year. And especially in college, these costs can add up when you factor in your tuition. And even in high school, of course, the idea of having to spend hundreds of dollars is already just something that adds up. As well as the fact that printed textbooks can get outdated extremely quickly. Depending on the information in the textbooks, it might not be completely accurate or something might be discovered that makes it so another version of the textbook is more accurate. And then instead of being able to update it, you have to buy a completely new one, more costs, and teachers end up saying, don't use that page or ignore that chapter. Things like this just add unnecessary weight and information to what you have to carry around. And this isn't only an issue that maybe one student has to deal with or another one. Any single person taking a course ranging from freshman to senior, high schoolers, college students are all going to have to face this issue. Even at my own school, I know I have to carry around heavy a heavy backpack full of textbooks and things.
Now for main point two, it's the solution and how we should switch to digital textbooks. They do take away the weight and make learning easier, and you can search, highlight, zoom in, and also access everything instantly. Schools that have switched, they have said that students are more engaged and less stressed. Digital, digital textbooks do cost less and update easily. Instead of buying new editions every few years, digital books can be updated instantly. That saves money for schools and for families, and plus students don't have to worry about having the wrong version at times whenever they are needed. And then schools can switch slowly every time, and this doesn't always happen overnight, but schools can start the phase that we call like transition, and it does offer digital versions along with the printed ones. They also allow personal you can also allow personal devices or provide school tablets. You can slowly replace printed textbooks, and eventually they make the complete switch. And this does make the changes easier for teachers, students, and the school budget. So digital textbooks are cheaper, easier to use, and schools can switch to them without rushing. And now we're going to talk about if you did switch and if you didn't switch.
Our third point, the action and results. So what happens if we don't change anything? Well, if we don't change anything, then of course things are going to continue the way they are, but nothing's going to be improved. You'll still have to carry, or students will still have to carry their heavy backpacks. They'll have to continue paying more for their books, and they'll have to deal with outdated info. Because a lot of times for universities as well, it's expensive for them to continuously update whatever resources they have. That's why they put it upon the students. But let's say for specific courses where they do give you the textbook, a lot of the times, like I just mentioned, they don't feel the need to consistently refresh the information and the textbooks that they're giving out. For future students, such as little siblings, cousins, or the next classes, they're going to go through the same thing. Having to buy a textbook, not have to use it anymore, and maybe sell it or give it away for either no profit or half of whatever they did. However, if we do switch, then there's multiple benefits. Digital textbooks mean a lighter bag, so all that weight that you had to carry around with the textbooks you had before, you either have to carry a tablet, iPad, MacBook, computer, anything like that. But regardless of whatever it is, any sort of digital device is going to weigh lighter than the tens, multiple textbooks that you'd have to carry in the first place. Information can be updated quickly and seamlessly as compared to having to print out a whole other textbook. And the ability to study anywhere becomes a lot easier as well. You don't have to lug around all the books that you would have had to before. You don't have to remember all the books that you would have had to before. Everything is in one place, which makes school a lot less stressful for the average student who already has to deal with however many courses he's taking or she's taking. All you have to worry about is making sure you remember your computer and maybe a login or two. But regardless, that's going to be a lot easier. And moving on to my final point, how does this help students now and in the future? Well, by switching now, we can start the transition period, as you mentioned. And this transition period and all of these benefits that I just mentioned are going to help everyone, every single student. By switching, you get your lighter backpacks, your easier access to your materials, and at the same time, students in the future will probably deal with a more beneficial, refined version of these same updates that we just mentioned. You won't have to worry about the worn out, heavy, outdated books that were probably used in years prior.
Now for our conclusion. So today we talked about the problems with printed textbooks and how digital textbooks fix those problems and what happens whenever we do take action. So the summary over our speech is over how printed textbooks are heavier, expensive, and they become outdated faster. Now digital textbooks are lighter, cheaper, and easier to use, and we encourage our school to move forward as well as other schools to use these digital textbooks. And if enough students do support it, the school will listen. And switching to digital textbooks do make learning easier, smarter, and more modern, and it's something that can start with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.